We're live. Mr. Wade?
Good night. Good night. Good night to our Belizean people, both at home and abroad. I want to welcome you again once more to Belizean Affairs show number 133 on this blessed Wednesday, 24th of April, 2024. As we come to you once more again, there's a lot going on, and I just hope that tonight's program will be beneficiary and you take away something. And like we always says, on our program, we are about people and nation, and we are the voice for the voiceless, and we speak on issues that affecting. I have a feedback there, but I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know
Yeah,
if you
I
get it.
fixed it already. I fixed it already.
So I want to welcome our viewers again, like I said, to our 133rd edition of Belizean Affairs. And we will be joined shortly by Leonard with a prayer and a reading, as we always do. So, Leonard, can you proceed with the
Yes, sir.
prayer and then a reading, please? Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, our chairman for tonight, for giving me the privilege to sit with you and participate in the program. I see you look like we have Mr. Gregory coming in. I don't know if you want me to. Yeah, he's in now. Good evening, Greg. We were just about
Good
to say
evening.
the prayer.
Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll be right in the background.
Okay, and so I'll just go ahead and close my eyes for a second. Divine loving Father, thou who art our Creator, the Creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves and our family, friends, and other loved ones, as well as our country of Belize, its people and leadership, and this country of the United States, its people and leadership, and the rest of humanity, especially those people who are in need of protection from wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and uh, hurricanes and tornadoes and all sorts of man-made disaster, all kind of natural disaster as well as man-made disaster. We pray that thou mayest hear our humble petitions, that thou wilt bless this program, that we may be able to say something that accrue to the well-being and benefit of our people and the education of our people. We pray that thou mayest continue to take care of all of us. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We have a feedback of something there. I don't know what it is.
Uh, it's like like a
Go
radio or
ahead
something else
with
is on.
the yeah. Go ahead with the reading there, Leonard, please.
Yes, sir. I'll read Proverbs chapter 11, starting at verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. Amen.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you,
Mr. Chairman.
Leonard. Um, Gregory, welcome, my brother. Want to introduce yourself before I, do my little presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. And thank you guys for tuning in to this 133rd edition of Belizean Affairs. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Greg. And as always, guys, it's a pleasure to sit in your company. Both of you guys. Have been very vocal. Um, you know, in our quest to educate the people and nation. And I thank you guys for the steadfastness and in calling out issues that are very important to our people and national security of this country. Not afraid to say, when they are doing wrong, and not afraid to say when they are doing something good. But it's all in the advocacy for our people. It's all about our people because you know in this country, you know there are some of us who knows that what is wrong in our country, but for some reason just afraid to speak out, for whatever reason. And I don't blame them, but I'm proud to be a part of this team that advocate for our people. So guys, again, I want to thank you. And you know I want to, through this medium, I want to send our condolences to Dr. Crear family. I want to, from us.
Venerable Patriot.
Yes. And that gentleman, that honorable man, right, was a true patriot of our country and a true advocacy for better healthcare in our country,
Mhm.
right? And he was always on the media, not shy from the media. I mean, if there was something that he should inform the public of, he had no problem doing it. And that man was not political motivated, right? And that man had always speak truth to the nation. And like I say, not afraid to inform the people. And I always want to see a better healthcare system in Belize. So, again, through this medium, our condolences, to the family. May his soul continue to rest in peace. So, that's what I wanted to share, but uh Greg have something that he will queue up as soon as I finish up my little message to the Belizean people. And bear with me, guys.
Yes,
To
sir.
my Belizean people and nation, and for those who have eyes, let them see, and for those who have ears, let them hear. We here on this Belizean Affairs show, with the grace of God, has been speaking out on the ills of our governing system and our
Mhm.
elected leaders, CEOs, heads of department, and to the two-party system that has us in Belize, that is going down the wrong path. We have been advocating on the wrong things that they are doing, right, in this country, right? And sadly, they show no remorse and no intention nor the will that they really want to fix the problem. Some of them is saying that all is good and they are doing the best, the word the best they can. And the word the best comes from our very own mouth of the Prime Minister. They are doing their best. Remember that, right? And remember where we are in this country and what's really going on in this country, and that's the best they can do, right? What a shame. We here on this show have been speaking out on these issues for over a year now, right? Such as crime, the gang situation, drugs, the unconstitutional, state of emergency that they keep passing every 3 4 months. They pass a unconstitutional state of emergency on our people. They unleash the wrath on our people, right? The criminal acts of some of our leaders, we speak out on it, and none has been held accountable for the talk about the failing economy, the high price of basic food item, and not to mention the high price of fuel. We speak on poverty, the unemployment, the high influx of illegal migration and from Central America, namely Guatemala and Salvador, Honduras. And the way they do it, right? And the preferential treatment that they get and the length the government goes to facilitate them with a Belizean citizenship, right? Not to mention the burden to the Belizean taxpayers and people and institutions. We have been calling out on the healthcare system that is on life support for a couple of years now. We've been calling out the failing healthcare system, but yet they say that we have the best healthcare system. We are getting good treatment, and we show and tell. We show the horrible treatment that Belizeans are getting at some of our healthcare facilities. We show it, right? A healthcare system that is on life support, right? The draconian laws they pass on the people, the injustice to our people, and where our people, the constitutional rights has been infringed on. We see it happen on a regular basis, right? Where the poor, because they cannot afford representation, goes to jail. Right? It happens and it's continue to happen. Right? We talk about the abuse of powers by our law enforcement personnel. Right? We see it play out publicly in the news, publicly. So, we know they talk nothing foreign, right? And they are corrupt leaders, right? Instead of they tell them about the wrong they are doing, they cover it up, right? By all the abuse, they try to cover it up, right? We talk about the tampering of our Belize constitution by this UP government, and the corruption in the government, and leaders, CEOs, and heads of department, they are all in it. And the nepotism in government, we see it, right? Continue to happen. And our public and government department that are compromised. People know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Compromise and a corrupt judicial system. Corrupted, right? The world is watching. Lately, the US government is calling out some of the ills, right, in this country, right? The US State Department, right? They are calling out, the lot of ills that's going on in this country, right? The wrongs that this past and present government are doing. The world is watching, right? So, Mr. Government and leaders, check yourself. Turn from your wicked ways and do the right thing to people and nation. So, I call on some of you please, stop committing crimes, steal, abuse your office, involve some of you involved in drugs, right? Involve criminal, I'm not calling names, right? Criminal activities, right? Some of our elected leaders are very much involved. Repent and ask for forgiveness. For you leave this before you leave this sinful earth. It's the right thing to do, right? Just repent and ask for forgiveness. And you guys know exactly who you are, right? Do the right thing. May God bless Belize. Right.
Amen.
Greg, you want to, bring up our item for tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we'll say about what is happening in the lead, and just to let the people at home and abroad know that the UN Human Rights has made an issue about what is happening in the lead. But before we do go to that, let's hear this.
Torture is one of the most serious crimes that can be committed against a human being. It aims to dehumanize through calculated acts of cruelty, to remove victims' dignity, and to leave them powerless. It often leaves scars for a lifetime. This is why in 1984, the Convention Against Torture was adopted. It aims to prevent torture and other acts of cruel, inhuman, and degrading punishment around the world. Since then, the absolute prohibition against torture has become accepted as a peremptory norm of international law. This means that all states, regardless of whether they ratified the convention or other relevant treaties that ban the practice, are bound by the prohibition of torture and ill treatment. The right to be free from torture is absolute and can't be set aside. It can't ever be justified on any grounds, in any circumstances, even in times of war. 4 elements are essential to establish torture as defined by the Convention Against Torture. The conduct must cause severe pain or suffering, physical or mental. The conduct must be inflicted intentionally. The torture must be inflicted for a specific purpose. There needs to be the involvement of a state official in some way. Torture can be committed both through an act or an omission. Thus, a state's failure to respond to the basic needs of its prisoners for a prolonged period of time can amount to torture. For example, the case of SLV, Venezuela in Latin America, concerns the lack of proper medical care for the diabetic condition of a prisoner, which eventually resulted in the death of the victim. The infliction of severe mental harm can also constitute torture. Such acts include sleep deprivation, constant threats of rape or harm, or forcing the victim to witness a loved one being tortured. Similarly, enforced disappearances, which can inflict severe suffering on the disappeared persons, as well as on those close to the victim, can also amount to torture. While there is a requirement for torture to be inflicted for a specific purpose, this has been interpreted widely. Some of the purposes that have been recognized include to produce a confession as a form of punishment, to intimidate the population, to humiliate the victim, or to discriminate. Azul Rojas Marin, who is a transgender person, was arbitrarily arrested by police officers in Peru. She was raped, beaten, and verbally abused due to her sexual orientation. The Inter-American Court found that she had been tortured for a discriminatory purpose, which could be derived from the circumstances surrounding her treatment. In most cases, torture occurs when individuals find themselves in a situation of complete dependency, when they are held in police custody, prison, healthcare facilities, or deprived of their liberty in other contexts. Sometimes, if the context is highly coercive or there is a distinct imbalance of power, the prohibited purpose can be implied. For example, the suggestion that a rape that takes place in a prison happened for simple private sexual gratification purposes has not been accepted. Under the Convention, torture requires the involvement of a state official, at least by acquiescence. This will usually include officials exercising public security functions, such as police, military, prison or detention authorities. But it can also involve other officials who exercise control over individuals, such as mental health facility administrators, teaching staff, or officials at centres holding asylum seekers or refugees, persons holding de facto power as public officials, or private contractors carrying out governance functions. States are also responsible for tolerating acts of private actors, for instance in situations of domestic violence. The key obligation of states under the Convention.
I turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You know, thank you for playing that video there, because not all of what you is seen there happens in this country, but a lot of what you play there happens in this country, right? For instance, when the police arrest you, how they treat you,
Mm-hmm.
and how they force these people to confess,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just because they do not know better, right? And then continue to do that kind of abuse to people, right? And most of it is what happened in other countries right around us, right around us. So it's a good thing that you brought that up to the public to know when they are being taken advantage of, right? For those who are watching, right, and they could speak out against it, right? Back to you, Leonard. You have a lot. I know you have a lot to say on that issue, right?
Thank you
So
very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me a chance to speak on the matter. Thank you very much, Greg, for playing that specific and particular series of information video, because they go to the heart of what is it that we're going to deal with for tonight. It set the pace and it puts in context what I have already been saying over and over and over to all officials there in Belize. That is that some of them may yet find themselves at the Hague. And while we are just advising them or pointing out to them the things that will take them to the Hague as a caution for them to take heed of and reverse their wayward, I would say, malignant conduct, because there's no justification, as far as I could see, why all leaders of our country should have to comport themselves the way the current leaders and even past leaders have comported themselves. They behave in such obstinate, disdainful, contemptuous, I would say even at the level of criminal contempt, because they cause harm and hurt to people, and because they suffer no consequences for their dastardly actions, they seem to have the impression that, well, they are untouchable. And little do they realize that I'm setting the groundwork for them to firstly be informed as to what extent their local powers will not shield them when the damn curtain comes down on their head. Because then they will have to answer in international court for some of the criminal conducts that they have done in our country with the powers of governance that we are entrust to them, and that they feel that they will not prosecute themselves and there's nobody else that will prosecute them. I'm sitting here tonight participating in this program and reiterating once more, and maybe a few more times before this program is over tonight, some of these guys will find themselves at the Hague. Maybe they have no idea how that operates. But the very same thing that they know that they're doing, that they know is wrong, should give them some pause and thought. But unfortunately, they feel drunk with power. And while the Belizean people might just hold them accountable when voting time comes, I have said it before and I'm going to say it again. Some of these guys are about to head to the Hague, and by the time they realize which one of them and who all, maybe it might be too late then for them to reverse course as compared to now when they're just being advised to do so. All we have to do is present to the Hague. Well, before we get to the Hague, deal with some international lawyers and have them present a case on behalf of the people of Belize vis-a-vis past governments of Belize, including the present one. And the United Nations ICC, International Criminal Court of Justice, is empowered to go and pick them up, regardless of what part of the world in there. All they have to do is put out an international police report and request them to stop. But if they don't want to stop, they authorize other countries to grab them and send them. But unfortunately, all leaders are oblivious about what is it that they will have to deal with as a consequence, because they refuse to stop their bogus, arbitrary, and capricious attitudes and the bastardization of our constitution to commit crimes under the color of law. And as I said, if I have to pursue the process as designed, I don't have a problem. I do not have a problem. Accountability must be had in my country. And if that is the way that we won't get accountability, then that's the way we're going to have to go. But accountability will be had voluntarily or against their will. We're not playing politics in Belize like we used to play in the old days. That's gone. We're dealing with a new modern set of circumstances that will bring accountability regardless of their wishes or their objections, which is why they have refused to put into place, because the Convention Against Impunity and the Convention against, like the UNCAC Convention, for example, have already been signed onto by our country. And all these guys need to do is put the enabling legislation locally in place to facilitate the implementation of those conventions. We are signatory to the convention. But failing them doing what they need to do, as the clip that you just presented just now, Greg, stipulates, once they commit the crime, they're entitled to doing the time. If somebody take a suit against them and the people don't prevail, all they have to do is take their complaint to the International Court of Justice. It is known that the average local Belizeans will not have the money to do that, or do not see themselves as being able to sustain that possibility to carry that effort through. But there are other international organizations who have the wherewithal, the capacity, and the desire to assist in bringing about accountability on the part of those who think that they are untouchable and unreachable. And once the ball gets rolling, it will be too late for them to try and, because they have already committed the crime, they are being given warnings, and they refuse to heed those warnings. And once the ball gets rolling, it will stop where it stops. But enough of that for right now. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the privilege to expound. I know we have a lot to go for tonight.
Thank you, Botswana.
Thank you very much again, Greg, for your attentiveness and your extra yeoman job in the background for us in terms of bringing these things so the public don't have to just listen to us verbalize it, but they can see even in the presentation that you made just now, while you had somebody explaining what's going on, they're providing uh, visuals for people to look at and be able to digest or take in what is it that we're trying to put out there. Thanks again for the privilege to participate.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Leonard.
my good
Greg,
cousin.
go ahead, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Monday night, we presented to the people at home and abroad a partial presentation on the state of emergency and how it is structured and in total violation of our Constitution. I would like to say that the UN Human Rights Report and Belize that came out 2023, I'm kind of surprised that none of the news outlets had mentioned nothing in regards to it, except it was printed on social media with no song attached to it. It's as though it was put under the rug with no concern. But with me saying that, let me go back to the 2022 report.
The 2022 Country Reports on Human Rights Practices from the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor declares boldly at the opening, significant human rights issues included credible reports of abuse and inhuman treatment by security and prison officers, arbitrary arrests and detentions, refoulement of refugees to a country where they would face threats to their lives and freedom, serious corruption by government officials, and substantial barriers to accessing sexual and reproductive health services. It adds, quote, the government took steps to prosecute some public officials who committed abuses, but there were few successful prosecutions. The government did not effectively implement the laws on corruption, and officials often engage in corrupt practices with impunity. That is a lot to allege, but the report doesn't put a whole lot of meat on the bone. Under human rights abuses, the report points to, quote, reports that the government or its agents committed arbitrary or unlawful killings, and cites one well-known case, that of detainee Derek O., who was locked in a prisoner van and forgotten there, leading to his cruel death from heat stroke. The report also cites the case of Alison Major, who was shot to death by police. The report notes that the prosecution, quote, failed to provide the court with forensic evidence establishing the relationship between the police-issued firearm and the bullet fragments extracted from Major's body. Turning to freedom of expression, especially for the press, the report notes the incident 1 year ago when Channel 7's Charisse Halsall was forcibly ejected by the police from the CARICOM Sika Summit. The report notes that access was denied to certain local media houses to certain areas at this major regional event. Under protection of refugees, the report notes, quote, government repatriated Cuban nationals who claimed their lives or freedom would be threatened due to their opposition to the government there. Belize and Cuba have an agreement that requires Belize to return to Cuba all irregular immigrants with Cuban citizenship. And then, under corruption and lack of transparency in government, the report recounts the fiasco with Marco Vidal's COST strike team, members of which were accused of being involved in drug plane landings. The report also notes the arrest of former UDP Minister of Works Rene Montero for, quote, willful oppression under the allegation that he used human resources and government property to develop his private property. It's far from a smoking gun or compelling new information of current corruption, but this forms the highlight of an anticlimactic report.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, sorry. I just want to make one quick statement. A quick statement, not a speech. The statement is what Jules presented there are just snippets of the whole overall picture. But I have in my archives dozens upon dozens upon dozens of cases that these idiots could answer for if we read it. Like I said, both past and present government. When I made my earlier statement, I did not retain the comments to just the present government, right? You all heard me say past and present government, and there's a reason for that. That is that there's so much of this criminal stuff that these people can be brought to a comfort. And so I'm telling you, it is my personal impression that they will not stop until we make the move and put them under the microscope and really bring the hammer down on their head.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Greg, go ahead, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, as I was saying and stipulating, that was the 2022 report. I have a copy of the 2023, and nothing has changed. It has gotten worse. And that is why I specifically mentioned I am surprised how none of our news outlets has mentioned. I believe I have not seen any report that they have mentioned regarding the human rights report from the UN. Back to you, sir.
Thank you. You know, gentlemen, you know, like we here, we constantly reminding our people, we constantly reminding our people of where this two-party system have us, because they are the one that have us in this situation. Also in that situation that you played there, Greg, and this is just from me, thanks to this show. All what you had played there, we had brought forward. We have been talking about these things. Who do not believe me, they could revisit, right? So I'm thankful for us guys too. And then we brought it out. It travels, and it travels in many ways. A lot of people would never understand how it travels. But you see where it got. You see who brought that out. Not Jules Vasquez, not the PUP government, not the UDP government, not the news media in this country. Because in my personal view, they are all compromised. Right? Take it for what it is. And you cannot believe me. It's your right not to believe what I'm saying or what we say. But in the end, it all comes to show, right? And like we always says on this program, they tell on themselves, right? And my biggest problem that I have, guys, I'll say this, right, is that out of all the, you hear about all the inquiries where they have, right? My people, it's just a show. Who held accountable? Where is Rene Montero today as I speak? And that is criminal act that he had done. Where is the man that stole the canned beef from the Chinese man?
In jail.
One canned beef, it sounds simple and so we say, wait, even the utter that. Well, I'm just trying to show, right, the level of treachery, hypocrisy, right, where this two-party system has us. They do unto us a lot of things, right, and they get away with it. And at the end of the day, they ride off in the sunset and they left with the quarrel each other, turn brother against brother, sister and family against family, right? And they ride off in the sunset and they come back again with the same shenanigans, right? Who hold I ask this, my brothers, right? Who will hold these people accountable? Huh? Has any one of them gone to jail? Like I say, look at the court inquiry right now. It's just a show. No one will go to jail. Nothing will happen. Everybody there understand their assignment, right? Everybody has understand from the chairman lady right down to even the people who ain't can testify, right? They understand the assignment. Pass inquiry, and this one will be no different, and all on the backs of the taxpayers. The PUP, Brazilian don't pay for that. The UDP don't pay for that. All on the backs of the taxpayers only. Where this money could go to the healthcare system that we have that is so needed, right? But like I say, it's a sad situation, right? And it's a repetitious cycle. You hear we use this word a lot, right? And who will hold these people accountable? So you hear on my representation, all I ask them, is to turn from their wicked ways. Turn from their wicked ways, because they're so wicked and evil. I listened to this prime minister that I'll share off a little bit, came from gonna visit the Pope or wherever he gonna visit, right? And you hear, listen to, check the news and listen to what a man say. I just listen to the what the man say, right? And as for me, I believe nothing, like I always say, nothing that spewed out of that man's mouth. Nothing I believe. That's only me. You could believe all the words he say and everything else, John Public. But personally, I don't believe nothing that man says. And he's our leader, right? So sad. Turn from your wicked ways, Mr. Man, right? And do right by people and nation. Go to Leonard. To Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Greg, could we get a little deeper into substance about the SOE for right now, or not yet?
Yes, we can.
You had something here?
Yes, we
Because
can.
I really
Right.
want to do some damage quickly,
Right.
Before.
Right. And before you do that,
Uh-huh.
just to bring back on what we said Monday night about executive power, because I really wanted the people at home and abroad to understand what executive power is. If you guys can recall, the Prime Minister had mentioned he did not know why there was even a Senate inquiry because they have done no wrong. With that said, on Monday night, we played a clip from the head of the Senate inquiry who was astonished at what happened. And we had a conversation about it. But just to recap on that, about how executive powers work, I want the people at home and abroad to hear this.
That's absolutely that's nonsense. We have supported the Senate inquiry from day one, and we have done nothing to undermine the process. I think that it's unfortunate that Senator Chanona did not do her homework to find out that the House is in recess. And had she done her homework, she'd have realized that she has to wait till the House gets out that we finish the recess, and then she can continue her work, and she'll continue to have our support.
Have you been briefed on whether you will be called before the committee?
I have absolutely no idea. But thanks very much, everyone.
No, Mr. Chairman, did you hear the Prime Minister said he supported it from the outcome?
That's
What
exactly
I always say, they do what? They
on
tell
themselves.
what?
On themselves.
On themselves.
No, that is a prime example of telling on yourself. When he personally said he did not know why there was even a Senate inquiry. Back to you, sir.
Go ahead, Leonard.
I was looking for a part of the Constitution that I wanted to read because I didn't want to. I was about to say something earlier, just out of the top of my head, and I thought better of just verbalizing it. I wanted to read it from the Constitution, but I'm not able to come up with it quickly. And in the interest of time, I think I'm just going to have to state it. And at some other point in time, I could probably get to read it. But I'll just go ahead and state it. There's a part of the Constitution under the era for the Governor General that stipulates and says that the executive power of Belize is vested in Her Majesty at the time, has not been changed yet to His Majesty, but for all intents and purposes, that is what the Constitution contemplates and means either now, then, or in the future until they get it changed. So I'll repeat it again and I'll say the executive power to govern and manage Belize is rested in Her Majesty's purview and is conveyed by virtue of the Governor General, who is the representative of the head of state of Belize. And she assent that governance power, that executive governance power, to whoever wins the general election, having the majority of the people in the House of Representatives under their control or guidance. That is to say, whether it's PUP, UDP, whoever can come up with the majority after an election, that person is then vested, goes to the Governor General for the ascension of transfer of power from the Governor General on behalf of the head of state. According to the Constitution, it says that power of executive governance may be exercised by others to whom the Governor General assent that power to. And as I previously explained, the way it works is that after the general election, the Governor General, normally as a part of protocol and procedures, the one who wins goes to the Governor General with groups of names to occupy the cabinet position. And the individuals, they all present themselves, who will be prime minister, who will be minister, or whatever other ministry, present themselves at the Governor General's place of business to be sworn in. First of all, they have to swear allegiance to the crown or to the head of state. Whether we become a republic or not, the head of state will still have the subordinates to swear allegiance to him as head of state. So that's just another protocol process. But then the prime minister is then given as the prime minister. Why is it that they call him prime minister or the main minister or the head of the ministers? Given the transfer of power of governance by the means of ascension by the Governor General. And then that Governor General, the Prime Minister, and the Cabinet practice or holds that governance power or executive power, but they are beholden to the Governor General, which is why a couple of weeks ago I complained about the idea that they should not have the Deputy Governor General, who in the absence of the Governor General acts as the Governor General. In the case of Ms. Salam now, we'll say acts on or on behalf of Her Excellency Ms. Salam as Governor General. That person should not be, or you would not have Ms. Salam sitting in cabinet as a cabinet secretary to the Prime Minister, who is the leader of cabinet, and to whom the powers of governance is transferred by the Governor General.
2 more minutes there, Leonard.
from the from the yes, sir, hold on. From the head of state to the governor general to the prime minister, and on whose behalf cabinet sits and operates. And the prime minister can put in or take out whoever he wants in his cabinet. So you can't have the governor general the sit down in a cabinet as the secretary of cabinet. That's an asinine proposal, but it's been
If,
entertained and
if
being
I may,
agreed to.
if I may, my good cousin,
Go ahead, Greg.
let me do this for you.
Jump in. Go ahead.
Part 5, Section 36 of Belize Constitution. 1. The executive authority of Belize is
Right.
vested in Her
Exactly.
Majesty.
Exactly.
2. Subject to the provision of this Constitution, the executive authority of Belize may be
May
exercised on
may
her behalf, may be exercised
may
on behalf of Her Majesty by the Governor General, either directly or through officers
subordinates.
subordinate to him.
Exactly.
Nothing in this section shall prevent the National Assembly from conferring functions on persons or authority other than the Governor General.
Thank you.
So there we have it.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, can
So
I take another minute, sir?
okay,
Since we had Greg read it, can I take another minute just to expound
take a minute
quickly
yet.
and put it in the context of where I was trying to go with my initial statement?
Go ahead.
Exactly what Greg read is what I wanted was to read, but I couldn't find it quick enough and the time was running. And I know it by heart, but I just didn't want to just spit it out there,
Go ahead, yeah.
and then people will say, well, I'm just saying something that maybe not going to go so. I like reading it out of the thing for the people so the people could see that,
The
if
minute,
they're not going to come.
the minute up, Leonard.
Okay. Thank you very much,
The
sir.
minute up.
Okay, so what happened is that we have a travesty in our country right now. That is that we have a deputy governor general who is also the same individual, Mr. Stuart Leslie, who sits as cabinet secretary on behalf of the prime minister. You can't have the governor general be subordinate to the prime minister. According to the constitution, as Greg read it just now, that's the reverse. And these guys know that. But they want to have this thing in such a compliant way so that every time when the governor general is unavailable, then rush go get Mr. Stuart Leslie to sign bogus thing on their behalf under the powers vested in him as deputy governor general. Therefore, they can claim that, it was adequately assented to.
Thank you.
And it's all bogus.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard.
Yes, sir. We'll
Thank
come
you.
back to it because I
Yes,
have
thank
a
you.
whole bunch
Thank
of things
you,
where
Leonard.
I deal with.
Greg, we wanted to continue the issue on the state of emergency, right? If that's where you wanted to go with that clip, no? But and with what you were saying, Leonard, but you stated and you show that where things are done but it's not transparent, right? It's not transparent. And then the constant SOEs that they're passing, right? It's not right. It's not lawful. It's unlawful, right? And we talk about it on the last segment, right? That the constant passing of these bogus state of emergency, man, right? When will it stop, right? We talk about the reason why they say they're passing it, right? Is say, well, yeah, well, they will just put the lead black boy there away for 30 days and for make them go cool off, and then they can come out back because that's all they know for do, and that are the best thing could do. And the whole root problem is about the gangs and the selling of weed, right? They not talk about the lives, the lives that are lost, and the grieving parents and the grieving children that are left behind, fatherless, right? Then they not talk about the gravity of the seriousness of what is really going on. They take it as a joke, right? And so it's a joke all the way. The bogus law they're passing is a joke, right? And they take the seriousness of the actions of these gang members, right? They take it as a joke, right? And because of the way they talk about it, because of the way the prime minister said it, right? Well then justice are the best thing could do, and then just scare them guys if go cool off and thing, and come back again, and next 3 months we do the same thing, and the last 3 months when we do the any result, no result, right? I mean, you guys, Greg, is there any result on what these people are doing, man? Right? And the inconvenience what they do to the general public, right? Inconvenience people's lives, right? Unnecessarily, right? Just for a joke, right? Because they're not serious of what's going on. They're not serious at all, right? But anyway, Greg, say what you
If I
wanted
may,
to.
Mr. Chairman, let me say this personally. On Monday night, when we touched Section 69(9) of the Constitution and the illegality of entering that into a state of emergency, trying to take away Section 20 of our Constitution from our judges goes way beyond democracy. And it is proven that we are now becoming authoritarian and police state. And if I may, let me go to Section 9 of our Constitution, and I will simply read down to see what is happening in Belize after I read Section 9. Belize Constitution, Section 9. Section 9 of the Constitution guaranteeing protection from arbitrary search and entry provides 9(1). Except with his own consent, a person shall not be subjected to the search of his person or his property or the entry of others on his premises. Now, with that said, let me read this. What is arbitrary arrest and detention? Arbitrary arrest and arbitrary detention is the arrest or detention of an individual in a case in which there is no likelihood or evidence that they committed a crime against legal statute, or in which there has been no proper due process of law or order. What is legal arbitrary? Illegality simply means that the law has not been complied with, whereas arbitrary refers to the inappropriate, unjust, unforeseeable, or disproportionate nature of the detention.
Capricious.
So,
Thank you.
again, malicious action by the police
Authority.
and our police minister.
Greg,
Back to you, Mr.
thank you.
Chairman.
Greg, you queued up that first news item, right? From the human rights, right? And the letter from the US State Department, right? You have that was 2022. We have a 2023 one, right? I don't know if you could cue that one up too, right? Because I want to say something about that, right?
Mr. Chairman, I was referring to it, as I mentioned, I believe, and I was more than shocked that I have seen no video by no news outlet. It might be out there, but it would have come up the same way the 2022 came up, and I have yet to see it. That is
Okay.
why I queued up the
That-
2022 to express to you that it has not changed from 2022. It has gotten worse. And I do hope
okay.
people at home and abroad would read that. I now turn it back to you, sir.
Thank you. Well, on that note, I like to say this, right? All these breaches are out there, right? Um, so through our medium, I call on the outside world, right, to start to bring down some sanctions, right, for betterment, for Belize to do better. This man boasts today about a $230 million grant that he's going to receive from my government, right? The US government. So I hope and pray that they demand some kind of account. The grant that he had gotten not too long ago, right? He had mentioned where it was going, education again. The last time he mentioned education, right? And this time he mentioned education again, which I know not one penny of that last grant he got went to education. This time again, I call on my government. He mentioned it again, right? The US government, because it's my tax dollars again, right? Please demand some accountability from this Belize government, right? Because it's shameful, right, to see all the money that the US government has been giving Belize from past and present Belize government. UDP government and police get a hell of a lot of money as per grant, not paying back this money, you know. So what they do, they squander this damn money on things that where it's not supposed to go, right? But yet they verbalize it in the news and they paint a good picture so that the US government could take that and run with it. All lies. So I demand do some policing on the money that has been given as grant to this Belize government, right? I'm so ashamed to hear this man keep repeating the same damn thing over and over that he's going to give, that this money is going to go to, right? Equip the hospital with this money, then I will not talk, right? You know, do the right thing with the money, right? And then I will not talk, right? Give it so that it'll be useful and rewarding to the Belizean people, not to the PUP government. I mean, and not to the PUP cronies, nor your PUP party, nor the UDP party, nor his cronies, right? Because there is where all the money, 98% of the man bet goes where it's not supposed to go. And it's a damn shame and it's a sin, right? And it's a criminal act, right? You guys should be persecuted for those money, right? Give account of those money. So I demand Mr. Man to give a good account of that 230 million that you say is going to be granted to Belize, right? Back to you, Leonard.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As regards to the SOE, 58 and 59, because there's two of them combined, okay? One was done before, not properly done. They got flagged for it, and they went back within a few hours' time, modified, and came back with the next number, 59. right? Another problem with that SOE is that the people, like I said in the last one, they don't seem to seriously understand what drafting legal documents is all about. They feel that just putting on whatever words they want to put down should be good enough. And in their level of competence for legal draftsmanship, it shows up that they're not too bright dealing with the matters. First of all, if they make them basic mistakes, like what I'm going to point out right now, how then can they actually be given adequate advice? And how then can they actually be making these things legal after it's been declared already and being told to them that the stuff is unconstitutional? The only way to remedy it and to make it proper is to make it constitutional, to make it meet the requirements of the Constitution. Not to continue bastardizing the Constitution by brute force and by legislative numbers because they have a majority, a super majority, and they think that just that numerical sequence alone will make whatever they put out be constitutional. Let me go to the point. SOE, statutory instrument number 58 of 2024. A proclamation, let me enlarge this stuff so I could, in fact, let me turn it sideways because I want to be able to read the whole thing all the way through. It might take a couple of minutes, Mr. Chairman. I'm just
Give you
saying that
give
as
you
a...
5 minutes on because we're about
Okay.
that time, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. A proclamation declaring a state of public emergency in the south side of Belize City and certain parts of the Cayo district. By the way, they also hoped and included in one part of the presentation Hattieville. When last I saw, I don't recall Hattieville having been transferred to the Belize South Belize district. It's not South, it's what is it? Belize Rural Central, as a matter of fact, to be exact. I did not recognize or realize that Belize, that Hattieville had been transferred out of Belize proper into Cayo, as per their presentation, because that's what the document is saying. Okay. I mean, what I'll read. By Her Excellency Dame Furlan Salam, GCMG, Governor General of Belize. Signed on her behalf, by the way, by His Excellency Stuart Leslie. Remember the complaint I made a few minutes ago? And I wrote a whole article about previously about this gentleman occupying cabinet's positions as a secretary to cabinet while acting as the Governor General. And it's unfortunate that they don't know how to not get caught, because every time this man signs something, and it's always bogus, and he's using the authority vested in the Governor General's office, by the way, from which he gets his powers directed to him to act as a Deputy Governor General, and it's bastardizing the process and the outcome or the effect of what is intended to do favors on behalf of his cabinet bodies, to whom he is beholding and for who he works. And therefore he goes and sign off on this bogus thing, and he is not supposed to be criticized because he's signing off not as cabinet secretary, but as Deputy Governor General, in the absence of the Governor General. Every time the Governor General is unavailable or does not sign and he signs, it's when the Governor General is not available, and then they pass the bogus stuff, for which, if the Governor General herself was to be signing those documents, she can be removed from her office. She's subject to recall because she's serving at the pleasure of the head of state. And if the head of state gets to know that the Governor General or the Deputy Governor General, for this case in specifics right now, is signing off documentations that are totally bogus to start with, but are assented to and allowed to pretend to be legal, the deputy as well as the governor general could be pulled away from serving because they're not serving then at the pleasure of the head of state. They're serving then at the pleasure of the prime minister and cabinet. I pointed that out to them for them to try and correct it. They don't want to listen to advice. So one of these days they have to meet the road the hard way. But again, let me just read this stuff.
2
because,
more minutes. 2 more minutes.
yeah,
Leonard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So they went on to stipulate some of what is in the Constitution as the authorities, but they stipulate those stipulations not the way it was intended to, and or how the Constitution provides for it to be used. They do it in a bogus, offhanded, backhanded way, with a fast, movement of the hand, switch the bits and pieces around and make them pretend that what they're doing and saying is precisely how the Constitution intended it to be. I don't have time to read everything and point out everything. So I'll just go in quickly and mention, for example, where they say under Schedule 1, parts of the Belize City and parts of the Cayo district in which a state of public emergency exists. They classify all the sections in Belize, and then they skip over Hattieville, which means then that anybody arrested in Hattieville under this SOE could claim that the SOE is faulty and therefore did not direct itself at them adequately because it refers to Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Belize City, all the sections are under Schedule 1. Cayo and all the sections of Cayo are under Schedule 2. And neither under Schedule 1 nor Schedule 2 is anything that refers to Hattieville. But verbally, they have already declared that Hattieville is part of it. You can't do it like that. If you can't refer to a schedule to say that the schedule have the names of the places that your SOE is controlling and don't have the name of one of the places that you have under the SOE, that's arbitrary and capricious, that's malicious, that's bogus, that's illegal, and that's unconstitutional. What part of that they don't understand or couldn't have figured out? I don't know. I tell them no. Hopefully they are going to correct it. Because I know it take much to correct that. It's an oversight. But again, I really want the time, but I think I might have to take up next coming Friday on Constitutional Night to deal with the substance and the detail of this matter, because we're running out of time, and
we're running out of time.
we have quite a bit of other things that we need to deal with, no?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
Just to clarify on what my cousin was saying, let me say this, right? What makes this statutory instrument unconstitutional is because it is inconsistent with the Constitution. In Section 12, where it has application of Section 19 of the Belize Constitution, number 12, this is what it says. The provisions of Section 19 of the Belize Constitution shall apply to any person arrested and detained under these regulations. Now, if you are saying that applies, it's simply saying then that you must be told what you are charged with, and you can seek the remedy through judicial review, which is before a judge or magistrate. But then they come right back, and in Section 15, they come back and say it does not apply. It does not apply. Section 19 does not apply. Because here's where it says bail and habeas corpus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 15, let me read one, just to specify for clarity. Notwithstanding any rule of law to the contrary, but subject to these regulations, No bail shall be allowed in the case of any person, A, in respect of whom a detention order is enforced.
That's
B,
unconstitutional.
detained under the provision of Regulation 11. Now, if you go to number 2, under 15, hear what it says. The writ of habeas corpus shall not lie in the case of any person denied bail by or under sub-regulation 11. They are contradicting themselves. One, and no jurisdiction to grant bail in the case of such denial shall be exercised by any judge of the Supreme Court.
Crazy.
And again, it's
Crazy.
the High Court. It's the High Court, not
Mhm.
the Supreme Court, under any rule of law or other authority. The whole SOE is
Falls on its face.
unconstitutional.
Falls on its face. It doesn't meet a constitutional muster. And they want that to replace the Constitution, by the way. Bunch of idiots.
Thank you guys. You see, like I been saying, and you guys been saying too, it's unconstitutional, right? The these guys, they're trying to do this with the Constitution, right? And just throw it away, right? And the saddest part of it, right, is that nobody questioned these guys on
We
the
will.
laws they make. Yeah,
We will.
no, yeah,
Going forward.
yes, no, so they keep doing it and they keep doing it, and there are certain sections in there that is not that should be taken out. The court already tell them that it's null and void, right? Should be
699.
taken out. There's some, and
699.
it's still in there, and they're still using it, guys.
That's what they're
And
trying to use
people,
for this present SOE.
yes, and sadly, the attorneys, they know that too, and they facilitate them, right? So it's so sad to see, like I said before, these guys are the worst violators. Not us, the poor people, and the gangbangers, and the leaders, and they're not the violators. This government and past government are the worst violators,
Mm-hmm.
right? Worst violators of our constitution, right? They violate our human rights all the time, every day, to every time we turn. Like I said, nobody hold these people accountable, right? And I hope that the world is watching, and we see what they are posting up, the letters sent, right? What's out there for public consumption, what other countries are noticing that is happening in Belize, right? And it's out there, and like I say again, most of these countries are contributors. They give to this nation. They give, right? So I like I say again for the second time, I call on them, for what you are giving, demand some accountability, right? Because you know that they are not doing right. You know that they are corrupted because you say it. The U.S. government says it. They are corrupted, right? They abuse people human rights, especially the police, right? And ministers, right? And it's out there, right? People who are sworn to protect and serve us, right? They violate our human rights all the time. When the police arrest you, you are being violated, right? Because nothing they do to you, what they are doing to you is lawful. It's all unlawful, all the way to you end up in jail, right? Sometimes innocently, right? And it's there where your rights are being taken away from you when you end up in jail innocently, right? And it's a repetitious cycle. So I hope that on this through this medium, you guys, try to learn something, man, and educate on yourself and start to demand why you're doing this to me, right? Sue them, take them to court, right? So sad that the poor people have to mortgage their house or sell a piece of land or sell a leave property where they got to get an attorney to fight for your rights, right? So sad that that have to happen, right? So, demand some accountability, man, and demand from them, why are you doing this to me, right? Why these charges? I never do it, right? Why you did infringe on my rights? Why you don't want to call me attorney, right? Or why you they make a this confess to you when I shouldn't be confessing to you? Why you have me to sign this thing when I tell you I don't want to sign it, right? And then you beat me up on top so that I sign it, right? We don't need these things are so inhumane, and the world is watching, right? And like I say, I just hope that this government takes some shame, right, and start to do the right thing. And I say it for the 999th time, Mr. Police Minister and the Commissioner of Police, instill in the curriculum in the police academy, that the academy, not police training school, right? Academy, right? Instill in the curriculum that they are being taught, and they should be able to understand that there is a supreme law of this land, and it's called the Constitution, right? Teach them about the Constitution of this country, right? So that they stop doing what they do to our people, right? Because I know a lot of them don't know the Constitution, right? And right there is the breakdown. So teach them, man. Teach them about the Constitution so they do the right thing. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to go to section
You got
18 of
you
our
got you got
Constitution.
you got 3 minutes, Leonard.
Sure. Section 18 of our Constitution deals with provisions for periods of public emergency. And the public emergency that is referring to here is not the one that these guys are trying to do under their bogus process, or just to do police work with SOE rather than doing regular police work. But let me read it as it says here. Belize Constitution, Cap 4, Part 2, Section 18, Subsection 1. In this part, period of public emergency means any period during which, now pay keen attention to this, my brothers and sisters, because as I said, what these people are doing is contravening the Constitution. But the Constitution is going to tell you right here and now, speak for itself as to what a true constitutional state of emergency consists of, or is supposed to be about, not the bogus things that these jackals are trying to play. As in the case of A, it says, let me read the whole thing and stop. Try to avoid the commentary because
Time is.
in this part, Section 18.1 says, in this part, period of public emergency means any period during which A, Belize is engaged in any war. Are we engaged in any war, Belizeans, at home and abroad? Any of us know of any war that we're engaged with?
None at all.
Or B, there is enforced a proclamation by the Governor General declaring that a state of public emergency exists.
Not happening.
We do have that. That's what they're playing on right now. They get the Deputy Governor General to sign on behalf of the regular Governor General, presumably in her absence, so that she don't get fired and that this other guy go take the fall in case anything blow back, right? That's part of the game that they're playing.
Exactly.
But they're doing it, they're using the directives in a shell game way, like I said before. And it says, B, when there is in force a proclamation by the Governor General declaring that a state of public emergency exists, which needs to be valid and verified. It's not something that they could just decide we are called whatever we want to call one state of emergency, and therefore we get the Governor General to agree that we have the right to declare anything that we want a state of emergency, and a state of emergency is then put in place, like they just did recently. Because what happened? The end result, they mess up the tourism industry. America and other countries start telling people no go to Belize because then they start to highlight all the criminal activities of Belize, not the SOE, you know. They start to bring down all the previous records and all the drug this and that and the other. When police come and take care of their business, and don't have to have the government declare one state of emergency and embarrass the whole country. But
Thank you.
just
Thank
a
you,
minute, sir.
Greg.
Just a minute, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Just let me
We're at,
finish with this
we're
thing.
at, yeah, we
I
just
know.
need 5 more minutes.
I
Yeah,
run out. I run out.
yeah,
I
we're
run
out
out.
of time. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
we have to add one
I think we
extra.
use that another. Yeah.
We have to add one something quickly though, no, because I really want to get this thing across. There is enforced a resolution of the National Assembly, which has not happened, declaring that democratic institutions of Belize are threatened by subversion. Does anybody know about any democratic institution being threatened by subversion? Or that we have internal war among ourselves, maybe a
All
civil war?
bogus. All bogus.
So they're using an SOE for a purpose for which it was not designed.
Exactly.
And they're conflating. And they're
Exactly.
taking along the public for a ride. And the public is not anymore the wiser or knowledgeable about these
Exactly.
things. Anyhow, we'll take up some more of that on Friday when constitutional
Greg,
night
yeah,
comes.
thank you. Leonard, Greg, we have
Yes, sir.
5 minutes left. You could take 2, and I take.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
But let me help my good cousin here because a valid state of emergency, as he was discussing, is when there are laws added that one may break, as in the state of emergency under COVID-19, where if you were caught not wearing a face mask or you were out doing COVID measures, is where the legal authorities, the police, can pick you up and charge you to hold you accountable. But also, I want to say this tonight, right? That there is a precedent case that bars the police from just stopping anybody under this SOE. The good judge, Miss Justice Moore, when she made the ruling in Laddish case,
Yep.
had specified in writing. Justice Moore has found that police are not entitled by law to stop any person, any place, anytime, for any reason, and that per the Constitution, a person's liberty may be withheld only in certain circumstances. And what she's saying there, those certain circumstances is when the police have reasonable, articulable suspicion that you have committed or about to commit a crime. But they just cannot come up and stop you,
Arbitrary
as
and
the
capricious.
police say, and want to question you. I turn
But
it back to you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you.
the SOE,
Take 2 minutes to.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
We only have 2
no,
more.
quickly. There's one statement I want to make, one short one. The SOE is intended for catastrophic national disasters. The gangs that we have killing people in Belize is not a national catastrophic disaster. That's a failure of the police to use the power of state to do policing work.
Thank
They're
you.
hiding it under the guise of this SOE, which is inconsistent with the Constitution. It has to be
Thank you.
extensive and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If I may,
I'll
Mr.
get it on
Thank
Friday.
Chairman,
you. Thank you.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to piggyback on what my cousin said, it's a failure of the legislators not to legislate the right law to hold these people accountable. And
Exactly.
because they are not doing that with the super majority that they have, they are looking for a way out. And the way out that they're choosing is simply
bastardizing the
saying
Constitution.
that they does not have the answer for what the internal problem that it is causing. The three things that I mentioned that
Thank you.
government, past and present, cannot do.
Thank
External
you. We're out.
policies and internal policies. Back to you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Leonard. It's always a pleasure, to be in your company. And I want to say thanks to our viewers and listeners. And I hope that, we impart something, they take away something from our program tonight.
Could we invite
And
them for Friday?
we want to invite you again on Friday. We will continue this discussion, right? And we'll enlighten you more on, your rights. And like I say, finally, this country is in a police state and authoritarian state, right? That is what we have now, a police state. And we are seeing it playing out daily. And the authoritarian state has been playing out daily because you see the authority these guys have and they are using it, right? So on that note, I want to thank you guys. We are out of time.
Nice
And
program, Mr. Weird. Nice
to our
Thank
program.
you,
viewers and
Mr. Weir.
listeners,
Thank you, guys.
yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman. With that said, here we go.